I thought I brought a copy.
Well, we didn't get to do that.
We didn't get that. That's
See, one of these items is getting the financial record.
I'm ready for it.
He was kind of wanting to know what the link was, so he doesn't have access to it. He's trying to get rid of it over here.
Right. I'm just trying to get up to speed.
That's nice.
Well, there's a lot of some of these things. If you just want the financial records, that's not no number in here.
I deal with Longhorns all day, so sometimes they are distracted. Actually, they're not as bad as cats. Not much better than cats. Not as bad as cats. Don't worry. I mean, if it comes to water or food, they're right. They stand up and take notice. Well, thank you both.
That over there, but there's a lot of papers and things that show that they dragged
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation Board meeting that is called for starting at 6 p.m. on July the 27th. We're at the Spicewood Community Center, and it looks like we've got 24 folks here. Well done. Hopefully you've all signed in. Jeff and I have heard information that the other board members, Jeff Anderson, unfortunately, is tied up in business and can't. And we've heard nothing from the other two board members, who are Rich Schaefer and Dorothy Taylor. well, if I can comment on that. Please.
What about George?
They actually said this is an illegal meeting. But in the bylaws, we as directors can call a special meeting. We actually do not have a quorum, unfortunately, because we need a third party. But that does not stop us from having what is known as a town hall. Because we want to update you on some things that we're doing behind the scenes that you guys don't know about, and we haven't collaborated with you guys for a while. So I think that's probably the direction we're going to need to take, but I'm going to turn it back over to you. So,
That's the plan.
yeah, that's kind of the plan. We kind of got Heisman, as I refer to, the trophy guys, by the president, vice president, and of course Mr. Anderson, on a lot of the antics that have been going on. But we want to update you on some of those.
What about Burris?
When we get to that change.
Why isn't Burris here?
We've invited him, and it's the same reason why didn't George publish our agenda on the website? Because he was told not to. So we're going to come to that when we get to it. But I'm going to turn it over to you. If you want to, are we rolling through the agenda?
Well, as it turns out, the very first thing on the agenda, and you should have at least one copy on each table to be able to pass around. We make a ton of copies. But we started out with the call of order and the roll call. Two people on the board are present. Since we do not have a quorum, we cannot continue. But
right.
As Jeff
and that's a Texas Open Meetings Act, and they follow a pretty stringently and so on. So that's nothing we can control as part of the law.
So the attempt at this meeting is over at 6:05 on the 27th of July. But we thank you very much for.
But we're not done yet. We're going to go through the agenda. This agenda was put together by Renee and I, and you can see some of the items in there that are very important that you guys have asked us to put together since we were elected. This will be the agenda for the next meeting, if Rich ever, calls one. So please keep this in mind, and I want to go through this with you and see if there's anything to add to it, because Since he has not published an official one, I can continue to add stuff in. So why don't we go to item number 3, any public comments, because we can get those before.
Absolutely.
we go.
So it says, following our
Yeah.
impromptu work, we'll do the public comment. There are folks who have signed up. Is there anyone who hasn't signed in on the attendance roster? That would be great if you would, because we'd just like to capture that. And go for it if you could.
Okay, you want to start off with public comments? Anybody have any comments? Oh, yeah, just over here. There was a sheet. Sorry. Darby.
I will give my time to whoever needs to speak.
Again, so since we're wide open here,
Okay.
they're not time requirements per se.
I'm good.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
John? Lolly?
Yeah, I'll hold it off because it's your first item that you're going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Good.
I got the answer.
Is Danny here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. Mr. Danny Moore, you have the floor for exactly 3 minutes.
I don't know about y'all, but it would appear that there's a concerted effort to keep business from happening here. And because I got a little bit of public information, I do know that there's really big things going on behind the scenes that are happening unilaterally without board meetings that are against the Texas Open Meetings Act and everything else, and they're going to talk about that. But it would appear to me that there's a concerted effort between Dorothy, Rich, and Jordan Burris. Or else they'd be sitting here. George was here. I saw him when I left. He's in his house.
And by the way, keep in mind, we are on a Zoom, so they could have attended in a Zoom meeting if they chose to. We cannot accept their votes in something, but they...
George Burris should be sitting right here.
Yes. So,
Anyway, and the reason I believe that Burris is part of this is because I have yet another letter from Ken Paxton saying, signed by Jimenez, who's no longer with us, no longer on the board. Somehow he still has this responsibility. And he's saying that he gave me everything. I asked for Burris's financials. To date, I've gotten nothing. Why won't they give me George's financials? That's odd. And by law, they have to give them to me. So they spent money telling the AG that these records don't exist. That's incredible. But that's what Burris isn't sitting here. He was copied on the email when I asked for the records. So he got a direct email asking for the records. Also, I hope that this board can possibly take up, get a new law firm. The law firm has billed us for over $2 million now. It's unacceptable. They helped some of the ratepayers in the beginning, then they got on the board and said Dana Martin did everything that in the end a jury said. But they somehow flipped the script when Jimenez got on the board and went completely against that and cost us, all of us, sitting in this room, a whole pile of money. And I would like them to consider replacing Mr. Burris. And if y'all need any help going and interviewing general managers, I would be happy to go interview general managers.
there's a ton of them on Indeed.
There's a ton of them out there. We were told for years when the corrupt board sat up here that you couldn't get an attorney to do this stuff. You can't get general managers. It's a niche deal and it's really difficult. And it turns out it's garbage. So anyway, that's it.
Danny, is the general manager a paid position?
Yes.
He's paid handsomely.
Yes, it's a.
Do we know how much he's getting paid?
Well, I know he's getting over 55,000.
And strange enough,
50 when I was on the board, and then they bumped it to 55.
Strange enough, he's living in one of the director Bennett's homes right now in Windermere. It's a coincidence, probably. Sure. Thank you.
Anybody else? Patty? You're not on the signature, so I'll give you a special, paper.
It's heavy, get it.
Come here.
I
I really hadn't planned on talking, but when I heard y'all talking, I thought, well, there are a couple of things. But you just said there's something now. So in the three things I want to talk about was number one, George Burris. Number two, Joe Jimenez as the public information officer. And number three, regular meetings of the board of directors. Addressing number one, George Burris. George Burris, in case you don't know, is contract employee at 1099. And so there are laws specific to, as many of y'all may already know, a 1099 employee and what you can pay for and what you can't pay for when they work. Well, Windermere, and I don't think it's in his contract is poorly written in my opinion, if anyone has ever looked at it. But we are paying for like Mr. Burris's telephone bill. We're paying for Lori, his assistant, Cantrell, her telephone bill. We're paying for George Burris's insurance on his truck, which he lives in Windermere. So his truck is being used for purposes of Windermere Water Company to drive around in our neighborhood. That's if he's driving it. I don't see him driving much around in the neighborhood. I see Corix. So we're paying for that. And that's just scratching the surface. I do not know what else. I would take a guess based on looking at financials, there's a whole lot more. Mind you, he's a 1099. He was also given a bonus during the ice storm. I think we had a 1099 back then that probably knows about this stuff. So the IRS, and there's provisions in Texas law that is, it's very specific on 1099 employees. So, I mean, if he's a contract employee and we're paying for all of this stuff, is he a contract employee? So, just wanted to let you know that. What you do with it, I don't know, but I'm not sure if you guys know that. Definitely look into that one. The next one being the Public Information Act. So just so you know that Joe Jimenez made a motion to appoint himself not as the Public Information Officer, but what's called the Chief, I think it's CAO, Chief Administration Officer, not the CEO, because like the President and CEO are the same essentially, but the CAO. And in the law, it says by default, if you're the CAO officer, Chief Administrative Officer of the non-public, by default, you're the Public Information Officer. So that's how he became the Public Information Officer. Dorothy Taylor was voted in as the Public Information Officer. That vote was never voted, there was never a void to that vote. She had been the Public Information Officer from that vote to I don't know when. But the law is specific in Nonprofit Code, Chapter 22, that's applicable to a water supply corporation, an HOA, or any nonprofit. An officer can never be elected for more than 3 years. Now, a director may be, I don't know, 4 years or 5 years, but a specific officer, president, treasurer, vice president, the CAO, chief administrative officer. He's an officer, no more than 3. He was elected in 2019 when he made that motion to make him that person. The 3 years expired in 2022, and he was never reelected. But he continued in that position. He continued to get $400, and he was paid from, I don't know, last when he got the board, or when it expired, what was it, like April or May of 2022, and he did it to this year. So he basically got a year times 400, over $4,000 of money that by law was not allowed because he's not allowed to be an officer. I brought it to the board's attention. I sent it to these guys. I sent it to the other board members because I asked who the Public Information Officer was, and I wanted some documents, and Joe Jimenez replies, I'm the Public Information Officer. And didn't give me the documents I wanted. I asked for the documents. They never got back with me to this date. I've never gotten those documents, and they're very important documents. They have not told me who the Public Information Officer is, and I said I demanded that we get paid that money back that he took from us. Some of y'all may have been copied on that. Radio silence, I have not heard from them. So you need to know that information. This is stuff that you can't dispute this. This is God's honest truth. Finally, I mean, the antics never stop here. You could just go on and on and on. And then the next one, sorry, my computer just went dead, and I'm sure I can bring it up in just a second. But in our bylaws, it's number 2. If you have your bylaws in front of you, I'm sorry, it's number 12. And they failed to inform you guys of this and inform the rest of the community. And it used to work this way. For those that have lived here for years, it used to work this way, even with the POA. Number 12, regular meetings of the directors. A regular meeting of the board of directors may be held such a time as shall be determined, that's mandatory, shall, determined from time to time by a resolution of the board of directors. And that's right above 13 that says special meetings of directors, that the secretary shall call a special meeting of the board of directors whenever requested to do so by the president or 2 directors. So the 2 directors do have the authority to call a special meeting, like they did. What they said about the quorum is correct. You have to have them in person. That's not in dispute. But what I wanted to draw your attention to is the one about the regular board meetings that you're supposed to have. It says shall by resolution. There's been no resolution that these boards have ever, that I know of, unless you guys can correct me. I've never had Rick Schaefer or Joe vote on a resolution to determine what the dates are of WOWSC board meetings. Now, they used to do that. Remember in the POA, they used to set those dates out the beginning of the year. That used to be the practice years ago. And these bylaws were written not only for the water company, but the POA, if you're a Windermere POA member, there was a purpose behind it. And along the years, things have just gone awry. And these boards have not followed the bylaws and the articles. And that is why we are here today. Because we just have these runaway, reckless boards doing whatever they want to, interpreting our governing documents however they want to, which has put us in this position. It's pretty simple. Follow your governing documents and everything will fall into place and our company will be run correctly. But
Agree 100%. As a matter of fact, I brought that up to Mr. Jimenez at one point early on. Why is there not an annual schedule of every board meeting every month? And he just ignored me like he always does.
you adopt, and if you have to change, you have to change those dates, you change it. But put it out for the whole community to know
Yep.
what the meetings are going to be for the
It's
year.
very simple. First
Simple.
Tuesday of every month. I mean, it's really easy to do.
Paralegal at Texas Rural Water Association, when I used to be, worked with several water supply corporations. That's what they do. That's what special utility districts do. That's what MUDs do. That's what they do. That's not what Windermere does.
Okay.
Is the CAO a paid position?
It's not a paid position, however, because it's an officer position, the law allows that you can pay an officer a amount of $400 a month to do duties for the nonprofit corporation, whatever they may be. And so that's what he did. He became a public information officer from the PAO or whatever CAO, and they voted to pay himself. But once, I know.
The bylaws specify that it's up to $5,000 based on the
Secretary,
working
yes.
contribution. But it's interesting enough, it says it's $5,000 is limited for every position except the Secretary Treasurer, because when it was originally founded, the Secretary Treasurer was expected to be a person working deep with the contracts, the individuals, and it's actually still in the bylaws. And so,
Correct.
but that's what Joe Jimenez is using as his
Right.
clue into getting only
Well, he's
person who's
not,
ever been
apparently
paid.
he's gone now. He's not doing the public information.
No one is.
He has been paid.
Oh, okay.
No
It's
one's,
incorrected.
no one's doing the records anymore because I have made requests and have gotten no
Not
response at
anything.
all.
Yeah, that's good.
But just as a side note, so we are allowed to charge for public information requests. And in my opinion, if you want to generate money to do that, you charge people for it. If it's voluminous stuff, and that's what most POAs do and WSCs, because they're allowed to do it. But they didn't opt to do that. When Windermere decided that they were being overwhelmed with all these public information requests that were really simple requests having to do with everyday records such as your minutes or financials that aren't difficult to locate, that are supposed to be in the corporate's office, they decided instead to have Mr. Jimenez do it and pay him $400 when they could have had the general manager, which the law firm recommended, and it's in the minutes, that George Burris do that, or, they could have paid, made the requester pay. That would have been a different way, but they didn't do that. Joe Jimenez took a check for $400. So for him to say there was no other alternative is incorrect. So it's just follow the money, understand what's going on. I know he's gone. We got a new group on, but unfortunately it sounds like he's still in the picture and calling the shots, which is troublesome. And there's confidential information with the utility, not just with our information, but cybersecurity, all that other kind of stuff. And as it stands right now, he's just a member. So a member has access to our social security numbers, driver's license, all that kind of stuff. And he's not indemnified. He's not a director, he's not an officer, nothing. So that is pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much. Update on the PUC rate appeal.
Yeah, hang on, Betty, if I could just have you hold that, and let me just talk about a few things before we get to that, if you don't mind.
Let me just say this real quick and I'm done.
Oh, okay.
It's my last two
Sure,
seconds.
go.
PUC rate appeal. PFD came out June 29th. We have exceptions to the PFD proposal for decision that came out from the ALJ, and they're due next week on the 3rd by all the parties. Then a week later, we have what's called exceptions to, or replies to everyone else's exceptions. And what that essentially means is we go to town just on this proposal for decision and dissecting it and saying this is wrong, you got this wrong, you got this wrong. And then after that, we go before the commission. The date's been set. It's September 14th. I hope all you guys can make it. 9 in the morning at the PUC commission downtown. Maybe we can get a bus. We all load up and go down there. I will tell you this. The more people that are down there supporting the ratepayer, the ratepayer's representatives, it does really look good for us. And so, please, if you can make it, I appreciate you all attending.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does the PU staff get a chance to rebut what the ALJ came out with?
All the parties. All the parties.
All the parties.
Windermere is a party, and the PUC staff is a party. And so the way it works at the Public Utility Commission, of course, you've got the commission, and then you have below them, or I say below them, it's all these departments. You have what is like the legal staff of the commission, and then you have the legal division that, I probably am getting this wrong, and then you have the actual staff. And the staff is the third party who argues on behalf of the consumers of Texas. You have what they call the legal division or the legal group that is just below the commission, and they hear everything. Everything comes up to them, and they see everything, the briefs, all that, and they make some decisions, and they write this and they write that. And then it goes to the commissioners, and the commissioners have their own staff. They have their attorneys. So there's a lot of layers here of people looking at stuff. And so this 3.5 years we've been here, we've been going back and forth. Unfortunately, sometimes what it comes down to is just get to it. What are the issues in this case? Because the commission has at least 25 items on their agenda that they have to go through. And some of these electric ones, they could talk for an hour. When they get to ours, they're going to be like, okay, what's the story here? So I'm just preparing you. That's why it's really important right now that our arguments are strong, not only ours, but the staff. Because the PFD, the proposal for decision, was completely out in left field. And the judge, Ciano, he has a history of a lot of his PFDs being struck down by the commission, so. He doesn't have any power, he has no authority, he does not have the final say whatsoever, it's the commission. And they come from two different angles, different perspectives. And that's the latest with the PUC rate appeal. We're going.
Hang on.
September 14th, Patty?
September 14th, 9 a.m. Yes.
What's up, Bruce?
Are you done?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut Patty off.
You have a question?
Yeah, just so you'll know, the harassment never ends. I put in the water tank, disconnected from the water meter about 5 months ago. And just in case I might ever want to tear that tank down and re-hook up to the city water, which why would I? They're charging me $29 a month standby fee. Send me a bill.
Only 29?
Only 29.
Because you're in the service area.
It's illegal.
That's illegal.
But it's harassment. I guarantee
We
you,
know.
if it wasn't me, it wouldn't happen.
No, it's
And
everybody.
I guarantee you, tell me if I'm wrong, these two guys up here have no clue the bill was coming.
Yeah, I
We
did.
didn't discuss that.
I did.
You didn't know?
Yep.
Who did it?
I'll get to that. I done a lot in that whole thing recently. But let's talk about some things that Renee and I were strong-armed about. Patty, what was it, on the 27th, Patty?
I'm
On the
sorry.
27th, did that ALJ report come out?
The 29th of
29th.
June.
It went to Rich Schaefer. Did Rich Schaefer forward it to Renee and I? No. He had a meeting with the attorneys on it and did not include either one of us. We found out because there was 100, please don't shoot the messenger. We're working on it. We found out that he requested $186,000 disbursement to pay the legal fees of Lloyd Dustin. Tried to do it without board approval. Renee, you got any update on that?
We don't.
Okay. We've been trying to get to we went over to the accountant. Renee got strong-armed a little bit there. We went to the bank, got strong-armed there. We're still tracking that down.
Wait, excuse me. Is Renee the treasurer?
Yes. And yes, he went totally rogue on it, and he says he's got authority to do it. You should have seen these emails back and forth when I found out. Of course, you know how loud and boisterous I could get not only on email, but on a phone call to Mr. Schaefer. So they went totally rogue, and he went against the bylaws. I have 2 letters out to him, and he's got till tomorrow to respond, or him and I are going to have something not really pretty between us legally. Because that's what I'm going after, because he has violated so many bylaws. He cannot, according if you read the bylaws, he is not responsible for disbursement. That's that gentleman. Totally. He has not authority. He says he does because there's a little statement in the bylaws somewhere that says he has control over the direction of the water company and blah, blah, blah. Well, not at that level. Not 186,000. And where the 186,000 came from? The settlement that we got from Allied Insurance, the $670,000 settlement. Now, my problem is a couple of things. This is what I told Rich in this email that went to our attorney on the rate appeal case and the corporate attorney, this Cruz Reyes, that I've been battling back and forth with him for the last 3 or 4 days. I said, not only that he shouldn't have done that, where is the legal committee that is supposed to set strategy, legal strategy within here? Previously, it was the president and the treasurer. Joe Jimenez and Mike Nelson did that. They assigned themselves onto the legal committee, if you look back in the previous minutes. Well, guess what? He hasn't been involved in any of it. I called Rich out on that. So there's a lot of battling back and forth that I have taken on. I kind of left him out of it. He's been copied on it, but I'm going after Rich directly on the same path that I went after Joe Jimenez. And you know where that landed Joe, and I told Rich that. I said, this is not the Rich Schaefer Water Company. This is your water company. You should have had say in it. Now, going back to Patty's about the rate appeal, because I've spent a lot of time with that woman in the back about understanding how the whole thing works. So when we go up in front of the commission on the 14th, they've got really 4 paths they can take, pretty much. They can accept the ALJ's recommendation, which is what kind of Rich Schaefer put in that stupid email, which was totally wrong, by the way. A lot of errors in that, I'll get to that. They can accept the PUC staff attorney's recommendation on our rate appeal. So they can take either one of those. They can do nothing, they can kick it all back and make us work some more, or they can sit there and say, we're going to give you guys 50% rate appeal back. And they can decide on their own. It's up to the commission to decide. Not the ALJ, not staff, the commission decides. Now, normally, as Patty says, if you look back in history, they pretty much go with the staff side. So we might have that on our side. I had a discussion with one of the PUC attorneys, because I asked her, I said, wouldn't it be great, would it benefit you if you had two board members submit documentation to the commission stating that we support staff's recommendation? We're still working through that. I don't know how to do that yet. I've talked to an attorney about it, and we're trying to figure that out. Because Renee and I have no problem putting our name to it to say we support staff's recommendation to whatever they do. Now, isn't that a coincidence that none of these board members are here, because they won't say that? And I would physically ask them, why don't you support the rate appeal? I'd really love to ask these people, why don't they want their rates reduced? I still don't understand that. I know I do. But why don't they? This whole rate appeal case just behooves me of why they're not supporting a rate reduction. We can afford it in our balance sheet. Renee's looked at it. I've looked at it. We can afford it. We might have to come back to the membership sometime, get some money from you, but it'd be easier to get back maybe on an annual basis this amount versus paying this amount every month. We've already looked at the finance, but we don't understand why Rich and Dorothy, we don't know about Jeff Anderson yet. And again, town hall meeting here, this is not anything that's, this is all recorded, but it's a town hall. We don't know where Anderson sits on it. But I'd have to ask, why don't they support the rate appeal? Why don't they want to lower your rates? I don't get it. That's not the strategy of the membership. I'll tell you that right now. I kept telling Rich that. I said, Rich, you got to get out in the community. They want the staff's recommendation. Why aren't you going by their legal strategy? You're doing your own. You're going rogue. And that's not fair to the membership. And I've been back and forth with this guy, and in the last 36 hours, 48 hours, he's gone silent on me because he knows on my last sentence in there, Rich, you don't get this thing fixed, you don't communicate with me, you and I are going to have a little dance and it's going to be in a courtroom. And that's where my next thing could be.
Is there any way to stop them from spending the money without going from that insurance check?
We're trying to. We did not know about it. We were blindsided, literally blindsided, because we didn't get informed of the ALJs that was sent to the attorney, and the only reason we got it was Patty got our attorney, or the attorney for the rate case, got on a conference call with the Lloyd Gossett attorney and everybody else, and they were going to have some type of discussion about it. We don't know what it is. Excuse me? You're discussing a rate without having board members on it? You can't do that, Rich. You're doing business affairs without having a board meeting about it. And of course he ignored me. He's been ignoring me. So the only way I'm going to have to get him might be through litigation, which I'm going to take on personally against him.
Two quick points. One, as members, individuals who happen to have been recently elected as directors, I would imagine that a letter from you, either through your attorney or through the corporate attorney, or even just directly to the PUC commissioners, might carry some weight, right? You were the most recently elected to represent us and by them.
I just started that campaign last Friday, and by the time then I worked more on it Monday, and I'm trying to get what's the mechanism to get in there, to get it so they see it, and so on. Where does it go? How does it have to be formatted? How does it look?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm on it. Because Renee and I are on, stepping on it. We're right. We're saying take staff's recommendation. Just take it. I mean, why are you fighting it? Why are we spending more money? Stop the spend. It's stupid. As Patty just pointed out, Lloyd Gossett's back there spending your money appealing what came out, what the response is gonna be from Patty's group. Really? Why? Just let the commission decide. Now, it's a roll of the dice, people. Remember what I said, the commission can accept staff, they can modify, they can kick it back, they can do all kinds of things. It's up to the commission, not ALJ, not staff. They can choose to do what they want.
Also, as a side note, I forgot to mention this, they're almost up to $700,000 in this rate appeal, and they want to charge you, they want you to pay that. And so they have been fighting for the last 3.5 years to keep our rates high and prevent you from getting a refund. Even after, like they said years ago, well, when we get this big fat check from the insurance company, we're going to lower the rates, which was all, you know, just a farce. So interesting is they're spending your money, $700,000, to keep your rates high and not pay.
It's just
back.
unbelievable.
When the PUC rate staff attorneys have already said their rates are not just and reasonable. And even, by the way, the ALJ said the rates aren't just and reasonable. That was the bottom line. He said they did not include X amount of revenue. And so the rates are not correct. They're overcharging us. And he did say we have to be refunded.
Right.
They're going to continue to fight that and spend your money to do it.
Thank you. Curly.
The second point I wanted to make was, both of you and Mr. French were elected by us recently to be active members on the board of directors for our water company. To the extent that you're not being copied as directors on all communications that you're interested in or concerned in, seems to me to be a legal issue that should be raised with the corporation's attorneys. And if you do, I think they have to be reactive to it.
Oh, you should read. Our corporate attorney, his name is Cruz Reyes. You should have seen emails flying back and forth between him and I. It was all about, this meeting is illegal. I'm like, I invited him here today. I told him, why don't you come? You've never come to a meeting. You're supposed to represent him. I've asked that guy to come for the last year. When I first got in and when I was across the table with him talking about the election last year. I said, why don't you come to the meeting and talk to these people? You're only talking to these board people and you think that's the direction? They don't own. They don't set direction. The members own it. And I asked him to come tonight. He said, no, it's a legal meeting. I said, so what? Well, they get into a town hall. Just come and listen to him.
So the
words,
the words that go back and forth with attorneys are meaningless. The written words that are copied and are made part of the written record, I'm just wondering if you guys have made a written demand as directors to be copied on all communications and be included in. Okay, so that's part of the record. And
oh my God, yes.
Cool.
I've been communicating with, but Rich has gone dead silent. Dead silent on anything. I've got individual documents going in with all of his bylaws that he's been violating his fiduciary duty and writing a big check. We're not known about it. He's the treasurer. Really, what's going on? You kept us in the dark. You kept me in the dark about the ALJ finding on the 29th of June, and I found out about it about a week and a half ago. Not going to say it online, but yeah. Question? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I hate to get into the minutia of things, but does anyone here trust the Lloyd Gosling law?
No.
No.
Okay.
They're the only one that's benefited out of all of this.
Okay. Does anyone here trust the CPA that has been used by the board?
No.
Okay. So what you have is a circumstance, at least to my way of thinking, that they need to be replaced and fired.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, Lloyd Gosling is a large firm. They're well known. If Fred Lawyer tries to fight them, I can assure you it's not going to go very far. If there is enough sincerity among the group who understand the financial need, then another law firm of greater strength needs to be hired and paid for by the group. I applaud the fact that you want to stand up, raise your hand, okay? But did you get a $600,000 or $700,000 check recently to be able to fund the fun and games?
Hell no, but I don't care.
I appreciate that, but, you know, you gotta take about 2 steps back and look at things. The fact that you guys and us can't get financials that relate to large sums of money coming in, can't control the distribution of that money. I mean, I think you walk down to the bank and you hand the bank your election results, and that should put a stop to any other distribution. I think that's a face-to-face.
Yep.
And that should bring a stop to it. Because the minute the bank thinks that there is some issue as it relates to distributions, they're going to cover their tail feathers. I'd use a stronger word, but they're going to cover their tail feathers. And God forbid they may lock down the account. But so what? Okay? We can always open another account for the monthly income that comes in. As I understand it, the water company has a lien against a piece of property that it owns. Okay, that debt was taken out by the prior folks. Okay, we need to protect that lien, make sure it does not go into default. So that needs to get paid. You've got this 600 insurance situation.
Yep.
Has there been any effort to collect the judgment against the realtor?
No, we can't. That's locked down for right now.
Why is that locked down?
Okay. Well, I'll get back to that.
Okay.
So
Appeals. Basically appeals.
Yeah, it's in the appeals.
It's okay.
So I don't want to get sidetracked from this whole thing.
Okay. But you know what you've got is a circumstance where we need to get the financials first, because that will be all of the ammunition that you need to go to the court in Burnett County, who is familiar with this situation. You know, it's a relatively simple procedure under section 22.351 of the Texas Business Organization Code. Has to be requested by an active member. I've got 2 lots and I pay standby fees, okay? And apparently I'm lower than dirt in this organization, but that's okay. I got no problem with that.
We appreciate you, Kyle.
It's easier for me to keep my head down than to stick it up and get shot. But you know, if you don't trust the people that you're paying, you need to lose them. But at the ranch, it's not cruelty to animals. Hit a jackass between the eyes with a baseball bat. You're just trying to get his attention. So if Jackson Walker, I mean, I can give you the names of any of the bigger law firms that have the facilities, hiring a forensic accountant. Okay, that's one thing you absolutely have to have. Not a CPA, not a bookkeeper, but a forensic accountant with all the credentials after his name, and go, okay, gee whiz, I've gone back 2 years, 3 years, whatever the statute of limitations will allow, and say, pay this money back. You know, and if guys are acting in an ultra vires, in a situation above and beyond their authority, well, I don't care if he authorized $187,000 to the law firm. God bless the law firm, but Bud, you owe the money back to us. Now, you can get it back from the law firm, God bless you. So, you know, there are ways to be sticky, but you've got to have a big enough baseball bat to do it. And
I think I got one. I'm working through that minutia.
okay, thank you.
Hopefully. Now, another thing on that check, that disbursement, just 1 second.
That check cleared?
We don't know yet. We're working on it. If everybody remembers this, because I know I do. Remember Joe Geminez, who was on videotape, said that we have a contract to pay the law firms $10,000 a month. Everybody remember that?
Yes, I
Say that one
remember.
more time, I couldn't hear you back here.
Remember Joe Geminez sitting up here and say, oh, we got a contract with the law firms to pay each of the law firms $10,000 a month. Each. Now I'm trying to get that document, because I remember seeing it. So I'm digging up real hard. I've gone to my, you know, the gatekeeper over here, but we're going elsewhere. So that tells me another thing. Mr. Schaefer rescinded a contract on us without board approval. Boom, another serious violation. Because if he paid that law firm, Gosling, $186,000 when he was only supposed to pay $10,000 a month, that's pretty stupid. Because that was not board approval. That means he rescind that contract, which he has no authority for the bylaws. I'm getting to the bottom of that too. So I'm on him for that one, big time. Because that's bullshit. Because what could potentially happen on the 14th of September if the commission rules, guess what, guys? I owe you guys a bunch of money. Because we go back 2.5 years, and if the rates get adjusted, we owe the users a whole bunch of money. We don't got it in the tills. And Rich is paying $186,000 to his buddy when he could have just paid $10,000 to him. Kept $176,000 in the bank account because in about 45 days, we might owe you guys a whole bunch of money.
Will.
Better.
So I'm getting to the bottom of that whole shenanigans too. But Rich has just done this. George Burris has done this. That's why if you look at the agenda items today, contracts under... You can see under my agenda items, these were published from the last meeting in new business. One of them is contract review and operational review of what that guy does. He nixed Renee's request to put this agenda on the website. Went totally silent on me, and I said, George, you got 24 hours. I even went over to his house, knocked on his door, and I knew he was in there, and he wouldn't come out. And then, then he was supposed to meet me because I'm having kind of a little problem on one of the new hangars that I got built, and he wouldn't come over because he knew that I was not only going to ask him about this, but I was going to really ask him about why was this not put on the website. And what he's doing, what George is doing, is violating this guy. He's responsible for that. He's the Secretary of Treasury. Not Rich here. Got that, Rich? Thank you. Okay, hang on, Patty. Danny's been patient with me.
Alex and I might have some kind of telepathy going here because I was going to touch on that. Everyone in this room should understand that the law firm handled the district court case. And the rate case was them fighting to make sure they get paid for that. They should have had another law firm handle the rate case. Not you have the same people fighting for the same pot of dough. And now that Patty said, I've just read that it's in some filing, almost $700,000 for this. That's interest on, that's what I keep calling it, interest on the district court case, because that money accumulated because of the district court case and then rolling it into our rates. The law firm, in my opinion, has no integrity and should be replaced immediately.
Yep. I asked that in a note to Rich. I actually sent a note yesterday to Mr. Reyes-Cruz because him and I got into it. I said, you don't represent me. I'm a board member. You don't represent this water company because I'll guarantee you most of the membership are totally against you and your legal strategy. And you can take that to the senior partner at Lloyd Gosling. I haven't heard from them since that. I really don't care because I got other avenues to go get that. Question?
Yeah, you know, the PUC staff report was pretty good at showing what the previous board did. Is there a way of updating them, and are they interested in everything recently that's been going on?
Well, that's one of the things that I want to I'm trying to figure out a way to communicate to them. That's what I said from the beginning. I'm working on how do I get us named board members on a document in front of them to say, hey, we don't support the legal strategy that they have taken. We have tried to, sideline it since we got elected on the 15th of April. We've been getting the Heisman from them. They have violated X, Y, and Z. I did have a conversation with somebody, and they were like stunned that this has happened. And I'm like, the only way I can do it is I gotta seek legal to get Rich to settle that. I can't, he's controlling a lot of shit.
They'd be interested, but you don't necessarily.
I've also, unfortunately, Jamie Muldoon, who is the lawyer for Lloyd Gosling in the rate appeal case, I have a phone call out to her, but she's on vacation this week. She called me back last Friday. I tried to reach her on Thursday, and my voicemail was pretty direct, as you guys know how I can be. And she did call me back, and then I missed her call, and I tried to call her back, but then she went on vacation. So I'm not done with it. If I have to, I'll go down and sit in her office and go, what the hell's going on here, guys? And I know they're not going to talk to me because I'm not an officer. You know, I'm an officer. I'm not an officer, but I don't care. I represent you guys.
So there is an officer sitting up here, and he has, I believe, both the responsibility and the authority to report to the membership and other interested parties about the financial condition of the corporation.
Yep.
Perhaps that treasurer and officer of the corporation might produce a report and submit it both to the membership as well as the PUC staff, advising us of the current activities, conditions, ramifications of those based on that treasurer's understanding.
Duly noted. Okay, go ahead, Patty.
You didn't want to speak. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut to the chase on this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The bottom line is we just need to be proactive, and I know that's a tough pill to swallow for everybody because we're so into our individual lives and we don't want to step out of our comfort zone. But there are solutions here, and we just need to get active. For example, for you guys, you just have to start thinking outside the box. You can't get access to that website, George will post it. Go to the bottom of your web page. At the bottom right, it tells you who the web designer is, who does it. Pick up the phone, call them. It's a 1-800 number. Hi, I'm the secretary treasurer. Give me the rights. I am an elected board member. Show them the minutes that you got elected. 2, why can't we put some, cuffs on this board and limit what they can do? Easy. Change the bylaws. Bring all the members together and change the bylaws. Put a provision in there that restrict their power and allows the members to make those votes.
Yeah, it's very vague in the bylaws of the president's power. And he is overextending himself because he is making an assumption on a bunch of those. Because I have read those bylaws 100 times since all this crap came out 2 weeks ago. And I nailed him on a lot. When I had an attorney look at it and said, you are right, he is wrong about his fiduciary duty stops with them right there, as far as financial. But unfortunately, the old ways, we're not through the old ways. You go to the bank, there's 2 other people on the signature cards. Correct, Renee? Correct. And they shouldn't be in. And they're Rich and Dorothy.
Well, he's the treasurer.
Do you have access to see how much money the company actually has?
I do. He does.
Okay, so you can actually see
he's got
the bank account record.
Yeah, he's got it. But we should be removing those people but that's the old way, because that's what Jimenez was doing. Jimenez had total power, and that's exactly what Rich is just doing now. So, but I just wanted to run through, I think everybody has a copy of the agenda. If you don't, let me just run through. This is what we talked about at the May 25th meeting. And it's in the minutes as far as the Allied Insurance settlement. Everybody knows it was settled. We got $600,000+. And I wanted just to sit on that money. I told Rich, don't do anything. We got to have a meeting about it. I got documentation. He stonewalled me, didn't want to do it when we got the check. Okay, approval of an independent operation review and audit. That's our operations. We haven't done that ever. Are we running the water and the wastewater systems the way that they should be? Are there improvements? Are there process improvements? I want that, an audit on the whole operation on that. I want to review the contracts of the guy that's reviewing that. All contracts should be up annually. Totally should be up. Annually. Why do we allow these 3 to 4 year contracts to go on? He should be fighting for his business and finding operational improvements to better the operation and lower our cost. And that's not happening because nobody's keeping them accountable. I need a better way to, and this was all written down at the last meeting, so they have to put it in the agenda items coming up, because this was all in our new business. Process for developing and distributing owner-member communication. It sucks the way that how he sent that letter to us. I'll give you a fact. Last Wednesday, he sent that to Renee and I as a draft. He said, take a look at it and tell me your feedback. The next day it was in the mailbox. Look at the postmark. I was like you, SOB, you didn't give us more than like 6 hours to even respond back to that letter you sent to everybody. Unbelievable. I looked at the postmark. I'm like, it was dated on Thursday and Friday. You sent it to us Wednesday. Really? Like, we couldn't get comments back, Rich, and we know who wrote the whole thing. And a lot of it, that actually went to an attorney within the PUC, and they laughed at it. They go, this is all wrong. He has misquoted. This is not the way it happens. So please, in the audience, disregard it. Tell your friends, whoever's over there, disregard that letter because it's all false. I shouldn't say all of it. A lot of it is. And that's been verified. So we need better open meetings audits. You know, Danny's been stonewalled for I don't know how long, and it's so stupid. That we should, it's in the bylaws to say that he can make an appointment to go over there and look at any records he wants, and what happens is they stonewall him. And that's got to stop. That's just an old way.
Threaten us with the rest.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, everybody saw the YouTube video when we did the audio?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, seriously? And that's another thing I've asked Rich about. I asked him about it at the last May 25th meeting. Did you threaten a member? He said, I'll get back to you about it. That's not on the agenda. Well, it's on the agenda on this one. And it's in the document that I sent to him. Please explain that to me. I need an update on current insurance policies because we know we got one expiring. By the way, there's one expiring at the end of the month. The D&O insurance. Independent financial auditor. We want to get board approval to hire and do a forensic, as you said. It's on the agenda. They can't get away from it. Appoint a subcommittee to address how we're going to pay you back. You know, what's our path? I mean, what happens if the rates, if the commission takes staff recommendation? I'm going to owe you guys a lot of money. Board's got to figure out a way.
Isn't this kind of begging the question? You're assuming that everything's going to get reduced?
There is going to be some type of reduction, we think. Again, they could just kick it back and not even vote on it. That could happen. I've been told that. And they could go back to findings, but it's been 3.5 years. They may want to get it off their docket. And they might just say, we're going to accept staff, we're going to accept the ALJ. No, staff works within the commission, ALJ is an independent. So what do you think they're going to do? They'll probably accept staff.
Same as last time.
Well, I think they're going to accept staff, in my opinion. I really do, but I could be wrong. Or they just come up with their own. They go a happy medium and say, this is what it is. Reduce the rates. We're done. Move on to the next case. As Patty said, they got 25 of them right in front of them. But it's imperative that you guys are there. And again, I'm trying to get a letter in front of them about our support. Here's 2 active board members. Here's all the shenanigans. Here's what's been going on. And here's how we please. So you can see all of them that are on here that I'm trying to do. If anybody has any, please send them to me. Any new items that you want to address, I will get them on the next agenda because you don't want to know why? Because this is not an official meeting. So when Rich calls it, he's going to have all my comments in there because that's the way it was written in the minutes of the last meeting, which is documented. And he can't get around it. If he gets around it, then he's in violation again. Right, Rich? Thank you. Curly.
I wasn't able to make the last meeting, but one of the topics at the annual meeting that came up and probably bled over was the expansion of our service area without any member input. Has there been any additional progress that you're aware of that you can speak about of the service area increasing and the greater demand on our water system? We just had our water out at the airport, and I guess a lot of the other homes as well. That's...
Well, I'm definitely going to shut that down, but that expansion that was going into Travis Hills, which is the one as you go back to the Exxon gas station, that's dead in the water. Not going to happen. I already talked to the real estate company. I don't know if anybody knew, I have a good friend who likes to buy property down here, and I got them involved in looking at that. So we had correspondence. That's why I had all the information about they were talking to the Windermere Oaks Water Board. I have documentation to that effect, and that was Joe Demonez who had talked to them, and he denied it in a meeting, but he's no longer here. But there was communication with him and the treasurer. And George Burris, because they wanted to meet with the operations people to see if they could expand over there. But I think that is shut down because they're not going to do anything with us because I kind of exposed them. So, yeah, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that because I think it's bullshit what we did across the street.
Whatever he said, that Dr. Locke said.
Yeah. Now,
I know that a lot of our neighborhoods, in our surrounding neighborhoods have their drought contingency plans in place.
yep.
Has our board, has these guys talked about anything about drought contingency?
Oh, I think that was on one of the things that I wanted to talk to Rich about, but I also put it in my letter directly to him. I said, everybody else was in stage 4, Dripping Springs just went to stage 5. We're still in stage 1. How can that be?
So Lampasas went to 5.
How can it be that we're still in stage 1? I don't know. I need George here, but George was probably told by Rich not to attend. Oh, sorry. I said George is not here, that's the imposter.
That's security.
And look at how calm we are. Do we need security guards here? We're a calm group. I don't ever get that. But, anyways. Renee, did you have anybody else got any comments? Go ahead.
So you said earlier that you don't sit on the board, but you are on the board.
I'm a board member, but I'm not an officer. I'm not an officer.
So you don't have a title at all?
I don't have a title at all.
He's a director.
Except loud.
It's director.
I am loud. That's all I am. And I'm not letting up on that guy. He's pissed me off just like Joe Jimenez did. And what happened to Joe? He got trounced on by you guys. And that's what I'm going to make Schaefer out to be too. He's the same, and it's just crazy. Just his demeanor and just what he does and how he's just going against everything that you guys want, and it's just amazing. And one of the things I asked him in my meeting, I said, where are your people? Because where are their people at these meetings who fight for the rates to stay high and their policies? I asked Rich that. I asked Dorothy that too. I get stumped. No answer. You know, which I think is a very fair question. You guys show up at every meeting.
So what is Dorothy's title?
Vice president. And then we got the big kahuna right here, who's got one of the most powerful positions is right here, and we're going to exercise it pretty quick. So, Jill.
Joe, I don't want to know what's in the rules, but as somebody over here at the airport said, you know, we got shut down on water on the west side of the subdivision. Is there any, if they know they're going to work on a pipe, to at least give you a 24-hour notice?
Yeah.
I was shut down.
I'd like to address that because
Go.
we're right outside my window.
So
The
you're-
area, it's the area that was marked off that had some problem, a leak out there, had been set up with cones by Corex for days, okay? So there was an area that sooner or later that I guess they were gonna start working on. And the next thing I know, I'm looking out my kitchen window and there's all these Corex trucks and a big, huge backhoe, and they are digging down to the core. And no notice, no nothing, all of our water went off. I noticed
It happened
later
everywhere. It
after
happened
I called the
everywhere.
office and spoke with Lori, and she said, well, we just sent out an email. I said, they've been over there for an hour
Yep.
working on it. You knew you were coming today. It's been coned off, knowing that y'all were coming. You could have sent out an email saying potential turn off, so people could have gotten some
The night
water,
before.
stored away in time. So that I was really upset about. And then on top of that, they're all out there. George is standing out there, and everybody leaves. I don't know where they went, but everybody left. They left all their trucks, and they left a pipe spewing water for close to an hour and a half. I wanted to go over there with my 5-gallon buckets and kind of corral it, because it's like liquid gold going out these pipes that nobody around was
Did you
doing
take a
anything about.
video?
Did you videotape it?
You did.
Hey! Anybody who sees that,
Oh, no, send
please.
it to me.
Yeah, just send it to everybody. If anybody sees any of that shit, please call
Nobody
me.
around, and it was going for an hour.
I mean, I'm in that business. I'm in the construction business. I just laid, a whole bunch of pipe, my house in a building, water collection, and everything. I'm like, I can go over there. And what are you guys doing? What are you knuckleheads doing here?
I went over there. What happened?
they had a 2-inch check valve or whatever into a 6-inch T fitting. And they got the jacking with this little 2-inch pipe and they broke it off in the T. So they had to
Go get a new T.
Then they couldn't have no way of stopping it, and the only way to fix it was take out the 6-inch and put a whole new 2-inch, which to me was so crazy, but they'd already messed it up. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna tell somebody, don't, before you say don't do this, they've already done it.
Hey, quick survey, raise your hand, did anybody receive a boiled water notice?
No.
Required by TCEQ that when they take your water down, and they put it back up, they have to inform you to boil your water for potential contaminants that got into the water.
It wasn't necessary.
Yes, it is.
It depends on how long the water pressure is off.
Yeah.
It's how many minutes the water pressure is off. If the water pressure goes down too long, you lose the chlorine, and that's when you have to boil water.
They just, cold course, I think it was, or whatever, they just passed a new bill that changed that, so. May not be effective till September 1st, but.
I'm trying to keep this short, you know, it's a town hall, you guys have got great questions, but did I answer your question?
Partially.
So about the chance.
I was going to say to you privately, when you talk about that $678,000
Yep.
judgment, I disagree with you a little bit on that, because I would assume the Fifth Circuit designated the $400,000 to the attorneys, blah, 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 but the interest and penalty, to me, that's definitely free money, as far as,
Yes.
you know, but, so it's that amount, not the full 678.
Yeah, we just don't know what happened to it.
I understand.
It's
But
still
that's-
sitting in the
that's-
account.
You can't do anything about the other stuff. Another Fifth Circuit has said,
No.
here
Yeah.
goes here, goes here. Interest and penalties, that's your.
Yeah, that's our, yeah, that goes into our account, yes.
So does anybody know where the stage clarifier is? The old tank that they were supposed to put a clarifier in? Does anybody know where that?
Oh, no, nope. George could have, you know, reported on it, but he's not on it.
And I'm not gonna bring up the muscles.
Yeah, we're not gonna bring up the muscles. No more muscles. Unless we're barbecuing. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Josie.
So, let me just, I want to clarify. Did I hear Dana Martin's appealing the rate case?
Not the rate case, the district.
The district court case, and if so, who's paying for that?
Best of my knowledge, her organization, they had to post something like an $89,000 bond in order to be able to do that. And again, that was just their first input. Don't know anything more on that. So it's like one appeal request against another, against the counter appeal.
Is it Dana Martin appealing it, or Friendship Homes and Hangar?
Friendship Homes.
It doesn't matter, they're one and the same as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
And I'm not paying for her legal fees for appeal. So her friends can pay for her bills, not me. I'm not doing it,
It's not gonna happen.
not at all. And I expect for you guys to be on this board to nip this in the bud, big time. And I'm not kidding, because I've had it with all the legal.
I agree with you 100% on that one. I agree with all the legal bills. We should have stopped it a long time ago.
Yep.
Yep.
It's stupid. It's stupid we're fighting the rate appeal.
Right.
They're gonna bill us another 50 grand for this appeal that's taking place in the next 6 weeks.
Yep.
Easily.
Yep.
Stupid.
The bill.
Just put it in front of the commission, and guess what, folks? We're rolling the dice on it, and we just let it roll. But enough is enough.
And you see that they put that on the agenda for today to vote to accept the PUC staff
Yep.
recommendations and stop the legal spending, and they're not here.
And they're not here. They don't want to hear that.
That's why they're not here.
Carly.
I'm wondering if it's under the authority of the treasurer to stop all outbound payments to any legal firms until directed by the board, a vote of the board, and based on the deliberations of the board on the relevance of and the
Yep.
meaningfulness of the.
Curly, your question is absolutely right. Normally it would be. The idea is that we've got a president that's unilaterally working without a resolution as if he was an individual Hitler.
Yep,
Well, isn't that fraud?
yep.
Yes.
What does the bank manager say? What does the bank manager say?
I've not addressed it with the bank manager, but I will based on the input here. Why not? There's no harm in trying.
I would appreciate it if the treasurer that's representing me as a member would take authority of all financials for this corporation under their duties as the treasurer, and then act under the authority of the board as directed by the board. But I think taking control of it first, because that's the duty of the treasurer, I think I would appreciate it if the treasurer did that.
So my question and my concern here is that I know a little bit about this, and I know Renee went forth to tell the person that had the check to give to the law firm, and they just overrode him. So how do you do this? How do you stop these people from just going, rogue? Because that's what's happening.
Yes,
Temporary restraining order.
That's exactly what I'm.
Even easier than that, I think, is that he has, based on the election and the appointment as the treasurer, the authority to go to the bank and say, do not pay that check. Do not clear that check. That check is a fraudulently written check. It was without my authority as the treasurer, and therefore, now that check bounces. A $158,000 check is going to bounce. And it should bounce unless the treasurer approves the payment and the outflow of monies from the corporation.
Absolutely.
If you already do that, all you have to do is go talk to them in any kind of concern that they have, they'll solve.
Well, and quite honestly, I think everybody needs to get involved, and if it takes everybody walking into an office building, that's what needs to happen, by all means, I'm all for it.
September 14th.
And for sure, show up for September 14th. Because that right there is a PUC case. Guys, here's the deal. What happens is when all we do is talk and we don't do anything, what ends up happening is they just go and do what they want. And that's what happens here. And frankly, I'm tired of it.
We all are.
And I really, really, and it's not about bitching. It's not about carrying on and griping. It's about doing the right thing. And that board, besides you guys, don't have the right thing in mind. They only have one thing in mind, and that's to support Dan Martin and Joe Jimenez to get their asses out of hot water. And frankly, I'm fed up. And if you guys aren't fed up, well then, you know what the next step is? Then just expect your water bills to go up. Because that's what's going to
That's
happen.
what the letter said, and he was ready to incorporate another surcharge to offset this, so that's what.
And Janet, please take it back to Joe and Dana, because you really need to have some input there.
No, she will, don't worry.
All right, anybody got anything else? We're working on it. A lot of shit happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks that I am. Yes.
Alex wants to say something.
Yeah. If you're going to take the lead, I think that's great. But I would appreciate it if you would keep us in the loop.
Absolutely.
On the lead, and have your lawyer, I'm not talking about attorney-client privilege stuff, but have your lawyer copy us or send letters to you that you can send to us so that we can see what's happening. Because I think the more ire that gets built up when the other side says, take a long walk off the short pier, then that's going to bring this group closer together. And I think it's bonding now, to where we can seriously mount the corrective needs. But a temporary restraining order may be the absolute next best thing to do.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes. To get, in other words, we would have to put up a bond, but not much of a bond, okay? And
maybe not with this guy.
The court, for the court to issue the restraining order,
Sure, right.
and then the subsequent injunction,
Yes.
okay, then a bond
But it's
has
worth it.
to be posted. But what's the bond amount? Well, the bond is so that we're saving the company the money. Oh, well, that's not going to be much of a bond if the money's going to stay in the company, okay? So you know, plus the evidence at the temporary restraining order hearing will probably settle the case. Because it's the very mismanagement issues, unilateral issues, possible malfeasance issues by folks will all come to light in a condensed format.
Yep.
You know, and most likely under this circumstance where large sums of money are at risk, the court will grant expedited hearings. The TRO, you should be able to get within 1 or 2 days. 10 days to the injunction hearing. And the injunction hearing will take longer. But that's the only way to stop them is the baseball bat between the eyes.
That's where I started the dialogue in the last 48 hours, and I'm working at, and I'm gonna work it, and I'm just going right after Rich.
Thank you.
And I'm like, he's my target.
Where's the supper?
I was just gonna say, it goes without saying, do not go to Warren County to get the temporary restraining order. Outside the county.
Well, you have to.
I have to, I gotta file it.
It has to be
You have to
here.
do it.
Now, keep in mind, guys, you know what this does?
The county funded, I think, for the airport.
Yeah, the county will.
They said, ooh, bring in an outsider.
Now, keep in mind what they're gonna do. Lloyd Goss is gonna send us the bill on this.
And you know what? Let them do it.
Sure.
Because at some point in time, that's not going to look very good in their black hat when they walk into court with their hand out.
But keep that in mind.
And you may ask for attorney fees.
You know, and yeah, and then, you know, of course, stuff to do.
Well, copy them on the restraining order.
Yeah. So, there's some people in this room who know that I'm talking to, and I think could be a good thing. Okay. That's all I had to say. I gotta go because I gotta pick something up at the airport. Thank you for all coming. I know it's not what you guys wanted. These people were here in Georgia. We'll see you later.
Thanks
for coming again.